To be a Steeler is to consider others before you consider yourself. To protect your brother even from himself. To give support at your own expense. And when wearing the black and gold suit of armor, make sure nobody desecrates it, disrespects it. Most importantly, we ourselves don't dishonor it. From previous legends who have donned the black and gold. These virtues I learned while playing for the Steelers are what make the legacy of the black and gold timeless. They are passed down in the locker room from the steel curtain to anyone who valiantly wears the black and gold. Creating a brotherhood that is deeper than money, business, and winning. To be a Steeler is to consider others before you consider yourself. This is our culture, Steeler culture.
Now, here are your hosts, Rob and Dan, the SteelTwins.
Steeler Nation, what is going on? Thank you guys so very much for joining us on this Friday night for yet another edition of the Steeler Culture Podcast, where we break down Pittsburgh Steelers football. This episode is powered by our great friends over at BetUS Sportsbook and Casino, and we are live here to talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers going up against yet another AFC North opponent, third straight AFC North opponent, this time going to Cincinnati for Week 13.
Another one, another AFC North battle. And I'm still sour about the last one.
Yeah, the end. That was the last time we were in Ohio. Now we got to go out to Ohio again. Hopefully we can rinse that bad taste out of our mouth this go around.
We better, man. We better. First of all, we want to wish you guys we hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is over and done with. So we hope you guys had a phenomenal Thanksgiving. We definitely did. And it was an eventful day for a lot of reasons, but especially in the football world. It was an eventful day today in the football world as well, because the Raiders should have beat the Chiefs, but you know, the Raiders want to lose in the Raiders fashion, and the Chiefs want to luck out.
False start, by the way.
It looked like it to me.
I'm just saying.
It looked like it to me.
I'm just saying.
But it's Black Friday, so you know, whatever you guys are doing, shopping, whatever, just be safe out there. But I feel like the Steelers got their own Black Friday sale going, man. I feel like they got their own Black Friday sale going for the AFC North, for the Cincinnati Bengals personally, actually. I think they got a perfect buy one, get one free on ass whippings for the Bengals. The first one is this week. The next one is in Week 18. I don't know about you guys. I don't like the Bengals. I don't like them. They're 4-7. I'm happy to hear that. I would rather them be 4-8 come Sunday.
Of course.
Because I want to beat the Bengals, and I feel like this game is incredibly a must-win for the Steelers, man. They cannot risk losing any game in the division right now, but especially to the Bengals.
But I could say the same thing, honestly, about Cincinnati. They are 4-7. Their earlier start, 0-3, has bite them in the ass so far, as well as them losing the past two straight games against the Ravens and the Chargers.
Sure.
So at this point, when you look at them record-wise and the rest of the schedule, if they want to make a playoff push, they got to win the rest of their games.
They have to win out. I don't think this Bengals team is capable of winning out.
No, but I still would not underestimate the talent that they have and the way that offense specifically has been performing.
Yeah, their offense is as healthy as it can be. It's as healthy as it's going to get for this part of the season, which is very necessary for the Bengals. We know what Burrow is doing. We exactly know what Chase is doing.
Of course.
We know what T. Higgins is capable of when he's fully healthy, and he's had an up-and-down season because of his health. Reminds me a little bit of Jalen Warren in a sense for the Steelers, where we know what he's capable of. We know he's a difference maker. He's a great complementary piece. But the injuries have kind of just stumbled his impact for that team.
Right.
And now they're finally getting healthy towards the most important stretch of the season. So, yes, you can't underestimate the Bengals. You can't sleep on the Bengals whatsoever. And these games, man, Steelers and Bengals are always tough and competitive and close, and it's always a highlight. It's always one of those games that is just such an intense watch. There's typically a lot of bad blood there. There's a lot of trash talk on the field. There's a lot of laundry.
You already know the history between the Steelers and Bengals. I mean, there's not a lot of love. No. Some respect here and there to a certain degree with some players, but no, there's
some players, but as a whole,
there's a lot of bad blood. You can expect physicality with this one, as always.
As always, man, I would expect a couple turnovers forced from both defenses, just because that's just the nature of the Steelers and Bengals rivalry.
Yeah,
like this is such an intense matchup. I'm very excited for it, but the Steelers got to come away with a victory. It's very important. The Ravens already swept them. Now it's the Steelers' turn. They have no choice. Because if they start losing, if last week was the beginning of a losing streak or a losing trend, it's not going to go good for the Steelers, man. They still sit atop of the AFC North, which is great. The more they win, obviously, they remain there. So they got to keep winning.
Yeah.
And next up is the Cincinnati Bengals. Unfortunate for Cincinnati. But we're going to talk about the Steelers and Bengals, man. We got a lot to discuss. We got a lot to look into for this game, man. You know, the Bengals are an interesting football team. They've had an interesting season thus far. And honestly, it brings me great joy to see where they're at. But again, you just can't underestimate what they have to offer right now, because Burrow and Chase are probably the most dominant quarterback wide receiver duo in the league. But they're still 4-7 because
they're still 4-7. You know, I mean, they're doing the best that they can. I mean, you can't ask for better play between those two players. I mean, even dating back to their college days. But it's like, you know, like those two can't really carry the team. You know, it's a full team effort, not a two-player effort.
Sure, as we've seen. I mean, they lost both Ravens games, and Jamar Chase went off on the Ravens on both games. I mean, it was unbelievable stuff, and they still lost, man. Shaq Harris. Shout out to Shaq Harris, man, with a 20. Appreciate you, bro. Shaq Harris with a 20. He says, and I quote, "My guys, it's now or never. No more slow starts. No more 3-point field goals or 3 in our. No more pitch right and left, please. I hope that loss to the Browns woke the boys up. Defense has to get sacks. No more soft defense. Here we go. Love, bros." Appreciate it, Shaq. And I couldn't agree more. The Steelers got to play better, man. They got to stop playing soft, and they just got to clean up a lot of the mistakes on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about it today, but we want to thank you guys for joining us on another edition of the Steelers Culture Podcast as we preview the first Steelers versus Bengals matchup this season, man. The last, obviously, being in Week 18, the last game of the regular season for both teams. Lord knows what the record, Lord knows what the division is going to look like come that time.
Not just a division, but the playoff scenario.
It's going to be crazy, man.
Yeah.
The AFC North is going to be a crazy ride. I think we all agree that the Ravens and the Steelers are going to remain at top, and they're probably going to flip-flop in whoever's first place or whatnot. I don't want to count out the Bengals in the race, but I just think it's going to be impossible for them to play catch-up. Otherwise, the entire AFC is wide open. There's so much competition there. There's so much, just energy from that conference, man. It's actually pretty exciting. So These next couple months are going to be crazy, but for the Steelers, man, one game at a time, and it starts with the Bengals. So we're going to talk about it. Thank you guys for joining us. Again, hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving. You guys can follow us on social media. The @ are in the ticker down below. Links in the description box below, as well as to our Spotify account. If you guys want to listen to the audio version of this podcast, we are now on Spotify. So feel free to follow that and go listen over there. And a huge shout out to the sponsor of this live stream. Huge thank you to BetUS Sportsbook and Casino for sponsoring with us on this live stream as we look at the Week 13 Betting lines, the money lines. First of all, Week 13 is already underway. We had 3 interesting Thanksgiving games and a game this afternoon.
Yes, we did.
Which was an intense watch, actually. But, yeah, we got all of Week 13 here. Some interesting matchups, but obviously we're looking at the Steelers and the Bengals. What's very interesting to me, and I'm actually surprised by this, is the Steelers are, in fact, the underdog.
Actually, I'm not surprised by that whatsoever.
Really?
I'm not.
I'm surprised.
It's probably because it's in Cincinnati and just the way that Burrow and Chase are lining the league up right now. I'm not surprised by that. Plus, the Steelers did lose to Cleveland. So
Sure.
that might play a factor too.
They did lose to Cleveland, but the Bengals are coming off 2 losses. They are coming off a bye as well, but I'm surprised they are indeed the underdog. I like that money line, honestly.
I mean, how many times are the Steelers going to be the underdog in these games?
I don't know,
You know
man.
what I'm saying?
I mean, they've been the underdog a couple times, and they've come away with victories. So if you guys feel free and favoring that, like I do personally, I'd take the money line. The over-under, these games are always just up and down. These games, you never really know exactly what you're going to get. It could be defensive. It could be high scoring. In my opinion, man, the Steelers, they got to match up offensively with Burrow and Chase. So perhaps if you like the over there, 47, I mean, I could see it being something like that. The past couple Steelers-Bengals games have kind of reached that, especially when Burrow plays.
Yeah.
So I would honestly look into the over there. So if you guys want to get into any of that action over there, go to betus.com. They got a great 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit, up to $2,000 on your first deposit, and 125% on your next 2 deposits when you use the promo code YouTube150 when signing up at betus.com today. So we want to thank BetUS Sportsbook and Casino for sponsoring with us on this live stream. Just please gamble responsibly and definitely go check out those Week 13 odds plus the prop builder that they just added. A lot of cool stuff over there, man. Now, we get into this game. Where do you want to start?
I want to start with Cincinnati, and I want to start specifically with that offense. And the man that leads the way is, of course, Joe Burrow.
Yes, Joe Burrow is interesting because he's third in passing yards. He is at 27 touchdowns this season. It's crazy. 27 passing touchdowns for Joe Burrow, but they're still 4-7 and third in the division and playing a lot of catch-up.
Yeah.
So what does that tell you about the Bengals right now? What does that tell you about the Bengals this entire season? Burrow's been as healthy as he can be all season, but he is playing hurt. He actually has played hurt all season, which is kind of a testament of how good Burrow is to see what he's doing in a passing league with a hurt wrist, which is still lingering from last year, what took him out all of last year, which has took him out the last 2 Bengals and Steelers matchups last year.
Yeah, he has not played against the Steelers since November of 2022.
So this will be his first matchup versus the Steelers since that time, in over 2 years, in about 2 years. And he's actually 3-2 against the Steelers. But one thing I've noticed about Burrow against the Steelers is in his last 4 games against the Steelers, he's thrown at least 1 interception.
Yep.
The past 2 games, he's thrown more than 1. These games, man, they always go crazy, and I feel very confident that the Steelers can still force turnovers on the defensive side. So these are one of those things where, yeah, we got to get to Burrow. We got to limit him as much as we can, but it's a lot easier said than done when our secondary has been suspect the past couple of weeks, and I think we'll still be without Alex Highsmith.
Yes.
And their tackles are as healthy as they can be. And Orlando Brown and Amarius Mims, the rookie.
Yeah.
So you look at it in that way, the Bengals, they have a lot to offer offensively to the point they might match up well against the Steelers defense.
They could. I mean, like, despite the lingering wrist issue that's been documented from time to time on the sideline for Joe Burrow, it obviously has not really affected him big time with the stats that he's put up. And he's been very safe with the ball. He's only thrown 4 interceptions.
Only 4 interceptions,
off
right.
27 touchdowns. So he's been very smart with the football. He's been very safe, and he just has been slinging it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You know, and that wrist injury, again, it doesn't appear to be affecting him. But he did mention, when asked about the wrist injury, because I found this out today, that it could be an issue when it comes to the weather in Cincinnati because he hasn't really played it or played with that wrist issue in colder weather.
Yes.
And he's mentioned that it could be a problem. He said that, if I can get the quote here, he said, "That's a question that remains to be answered. I have not experienced a cold weather game with this injury yet. In the past, when I have had injuries, cold weather does affect it, so we will find out. Maybe I'll have a heater on the sideline or something. I haven't really thought about that yet, but we'll see."
They will definitely have a heater for sure, but his wrist is absolutely going to be bothering him. So I would expect I would hope that that's going to come into effect for Burrow and that entire offense, and the Steelers defense can take advantage because, yes, the colder weather does intensify the injury.
Yeah.
It does linger for Burrow. He's admitted that in previous games, the colder weather does happen to affect him in his game. That's going to come into a benefit for the Steelers. I would expect Burrow to just be a little, I don't want to say sloppy, but a little off on Sunday.
It could be. That wrist injury with the cold weather, that could play an effect, but the Bengals are not just going to prepare about that with this game, but for the rest of the season, because they're going to need Burrow to play his best ball to be able to try to win out, because they need to win out if they want to make a final playoff push.
Yeah, and they're not going to do that relying on Chase Brown and Zach Moss. They're a fine duo.
Well, Zach Moss, he's been out with injury for some time.
Yeah, but Chase Brown's been a very good running back.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know if he's starter worthy, but I think he's been a very good back. I think he's having a very good season. A dual threat. I think he's a very solid back, as a matter of fact.
I find Chase Brown to be a very talented back. You know, he's a versatile guy. He can run the ball effectively at times. You know, he can also catch out the backfield.
He's a strong runner.
He's a football player. I'll give him that.
Yeah.
I'll give him that. And, you know, filling in for Joe Mixon, who they lost, and Mixon, you know, what he's doing over here in Houston, just basically reviving his career. Maybe he just needed a change of scenery. Maybe it just wasn't clicking in Cincinnati like it did earlier in his career. But Chase Brown has been filling in for him. He hasn't obviously been as consistent or as dominant as Mixon is, but he's still a quality player.
No, over 600 rushing yards and I think 5 rushing touchdowns. So some credit to Chase Brown, but is he a guy that they can lean on all the time if Burrow is having wrist issues, if that's going to linger throughout the season, or specifically in this game?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at their rushing offense, they average about 91.5 yards per game on the ground. So
I don't fear their rushing
they're
attack.
not a consistent rushing attack, nor are they aggressive at that.
No.
It's the passing attack that you're going to have to watch out for, because they are, as of right now, the number 1 ranked passing offense. It's not hard to see why.
It's not hard to see why, and that does make them one-dimensional, but they're so successful, and a big help is that they do have an elite quarterback in Joe Burrow. They have one of the best receivers in the entire league in Chase, who is so far the only wide receiver to have over 1,000 yards this season and leads the league in touchdowns.
12.
T. Higgins is a dog. I'm still going to bank on T. Higgins being a Steeler next year. I'm still going to put that into the atmosphere.
Yeah.
I'm trying to manifest that into reality. But T. Higgins is good. T. Higgins is a dog. Mike Gesicki is their tight end. He gets involved a lot when Higgins isn't playing. I mean, they got targets. They got targets. They can spread the ball around. So I don't want to sleep on that offense. And to say that it worries me would be an understatement, because that defense still lacks a little bit of trust, in my opinion. They can force turnovers. We know that when they're on. They're on. When they're on their A game, you trust them to do everything capable of making plays and doing what they have to do and being the defense that they are advertised to be.
Yeah, of course.
But there are instances where they do give up chunk plays. There is blown coverage. Some of our corners have kind of let up the past couple of weeks, allowing big games to certain receivers, especially in the division.
Yeah.
So those are things I don't want to turn a blind eye to, especially with how hot Burrow and Chase are.
Yeah.
But clearly, it's a lot easier said than done. You got to limit those two as much as you can. Yeah. I would double Chase with Minka and JPJ. I would have JPJ follow Chase all game. I don't care where Chase lines up. JPJ follows. You would keep Minka as a single high safety to double him as much as you can to try to limit any possibility of Burrow checking it down to him or tossing it up to him down in the deep ball. And I would really hope that the pass rush steps up in this game. It's going to be hurting a little bit because I think Highsmith is still doubtful. I wouldn't expect Highsmith to be back yet, so Herbig will get the start, and Herbig had the only sack last week for the Steelers, so we still trust Herbig to make plays. The thing is, the O-line is not good. I don't think it's great.
Cincinnati's O-line, no. I mean, throughout the time Burrow's been a Bengal, his offensive line has never been good.
But I don't think they're as bad as they were in previous years.
No, around week 13 in previous years, he would already have been sacked about 30, 40 times. Yeah. He's only been sacked 26 times, which, I mean, it's still a lot for an offensive line to give up in 13 weeks, or 12 weeks, I should say, leading into week 13. But, I mean, it's not as bad, and I'll give the Bengals this. They are trying to fix that line for years. You know, they added Orlando Brown. They drafted Amaris Mims in the first round. I think they signed Alex Kappa. So, they are trying to to mold that offensive line for Joe Burrow. I'll give him that.
Well, the thing is, yeah, they added a ton of veteranship, a lot of experience on that line.
Yeah.
At left tackle, at center, at right guard, so that's helped them a lot, and they still have a lot of young pieces like Amaris Mims out of Georgia, who was such a raw prospect coming out of Georgia. They took the gamble on him, and he's had himself a decent little rookie season. But those are two behemoths at the tackle positions. Pittsburgh Steelers fan with a 5. Appreciate you, man. Says, which Steeler are you guys excited about for this game? What I'm most excited for? What Steeler am I most excited for? I want to get excited for a certain wide receiver that we don't want to use. That is Mike Williams. I want to get excited for that.
I'm not holding my breath on that one at this point.
That's a good way to transition into the Bengals' defense. Their defense is awful.
No,
Their defense is not good.
It's very mediocre. I'll say this. On paper, that front seven looks very talented. Trey Hendrickson leads the way with 11.5 sacks, which is a league leading. But the Bengals pass rush overall, that front seven, they've only garnered 19.
Yeah, Trey Hendrickson. See, it's Trey Hendrickson's weird because I find him still to be underrated. He's always, ever since joining the Bengals, he's been at the tops of sacks in the NFL.
He's always been consistent. He's been probably the most consistent defender for them.
Sure, but I still find him to be underrated in a sense because I don't think he gets talked about. I don't think he's tossed around.
Honestly, yeah, his name is not amongst that category for Defensive Player of the Year.
No, you got Watt, understandably so. You got
Garrett,
Garrett. You got all these other names.
Max Crosby.
Yeah, but Hendrickson's not there, but he's been getting the high number of sacks for the number of years. And the crazy thing is, he says what you said, 11.5 this year?
11.5.
And the next closest to them is 2 with Sam Hubbard.
Yeah.
They got no one opposite. They don't.
And not a consistent one at that, no.
And a problem they have as well is they can't stop the run.
No, not at all. Like on paper, it looks solid because they have Hendrickson, Sam Hubbard. They got young guys among the depth at defensive line. I'll give them that.
Yeah, because they drafted Chris Jenkins in the second round. They still got B.J. Hill.
Miles Murphy, their first-round pick last year. But,
Jacob became an STN member. Appreciate you, man. Actually, no, he's been a member for 7 months. Says, you think we make the playoffs? I was at the Browns game. Yes, I do think we make the playoffs.
Yeah.
I don't know how many more wins we need to make the playoffs, but I'm pretty sure it's not because we're at 8 wins right now. So I would say if the Steelers keep winning, they could clinch the playoffs by, I want to say, week 16, the earliest. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that's where they could line it up at.
Right.
It really depends where the division lies or how often the Steelers win, how often the Ravens lose. And Pittsburgh Steelers #1 fans became an STN member, so appreciate you for that as well.
Appreciate it, brother. Thank you.
But yeah, that Bengals defense just isn't good. It's very suspect, and it's been a big reason why they are 4-7. You see what the Bengals offer in the passing attack, and it's almost for nothing because that defense lets them down way too much.
Yeah, and especially that secondary. Now, I know that they lost Dax Hill, who they moved from free safety to cornerback because, they just didn't have anybody too consistent and reliable at cornerback. He went out with an injury, season-ending injury. Then they had DJ Turner, who was, I believe, their second-round rookie last year, and he stepped in, and he also got hurt with a season-ending injury. So they are suffering from injuries in that secondary, but everybody else that they have in there are just not reliable starters as of right now.
No, yeah, because like you said, Dax Hill's out for the year. DJ Turner's out for the year. They got Cam Taylor-Britt, who I think is solid. I think he's a guy they can build around. I think he's a guy that they really like, and he has 11 passes defended on the year. 2K is easy. Super Chat of 199 says, how well do you think we play Kansas City and Philly? Good question. I'll say this. Kansas City is incredibly vulnerable. They are beatable. I think the last number of weeks, it's been proven that their defense is letting up. Their defense is suspect. They are beatable. The Chiefs are absolutely beatable. If there's a year the Steelers can beat Mahomes and Andy Reid and the Chiefs, it's this year.
Yeah.
I think any team can beat the Chiefs. Honestly, man, the Panthers almost beat them. They took Bryce Young and the Panthers took them to the limit.
Yep.
And all because they gave him way too much fucking time. Swear jar.
Yeah.
The Raiders should have beat them today.
False start.
They should have beat them today, but JPJ, Jackson Powers Johnson, snapped the ball too early because the right guard signaled and they weren't prepared. They were in field goal range. The Raiders had it, and the Raiders lose in typical Raiders fashion.
Yeah.
Like, the Chiefs are vulnerable. They are beatable. They're not as threatening.
No. The past number of weeks, the Chiefs are just not as threatening. They don't play as threatening in my eyes. And as far as Philly goes, I feel like if any team can find a way to limit Saquon Barkley, I think they have a shot at beating Philly.
Agreed.
Because if Barkley goes off, I mean, best of luck trying to play catch up.
Yeah,
but if you can limit Barkley, a lot easier said than done doing that. But if you can find a way to limit Barkley, you have a better shot because I don't find Hurts to be that consistent of a passing quarterback.
Especially this year. You know, he's taken a backseat because Barkley is actually leaned on a lot, and for good reason. The thing is, if there's a team I think we beat more, whether it's Philly or Kansas City, I'm going to go bold here and say Kansas City. We just don't do good in Philadelphia. We don't play good against Philadelphia. And personally, I do fear Saquon a lot.
Yeah, he's going to be a handful.
I just don't think Kansas City has a player that threatening on their offense. They spread the ball around a lot. They have too many weapons, a lot of weapons.
And they got Isaiah Pacheco back.
And to not sound like Chris Collinsworth, they do have Patrick Mahomes. But I do think the Chiefs are very beatable. So how do I feel going? No, Jim. How do I feel going into those games? A little more confident. A little more confident than I did a week ago.
We'll see how the Steelers look, when we get closer to that. But
yeah, because we got to get to that game first. But we got to get
past Cincinnati first.
We got to get past both Ohio teams, actually.
Yeah, let's be real here.
But Cincinnati, their defense it doesn't worry me. Trey Hendrickson worries me. Our line is still suffering. Our line still can't allow Russ to be clean. There's a little too much dirt on Russ. There's too much of Russ scrambling. We need to limit Trey Hendrickson. You limit Trey Hendrickson, and I think Russ has a clean pocket for the majority of the day. I would hope so.
Yeah.
You got to double, you got to triple, you got to limit Hendrickson as much as you can. Otherwise, if he has a Myles Garrett game like last week, we're going to be in some trouble.
Yeah, and the Steelers did not game plan well enough against Myles Garrett. They weren't prepared for how Cleveland was going to move him around and use Garrett, and we've seen what Garrett did. So Steelers just need to be very prepared for. I mean, this is a man that is leading the league in sacks.
Yeah.
11.5. That's nothing to shrug off. Like, he's got 75% of the Bengals sacks, bro. 75%, probably 80, let's be real.
Yeah, honestly.
Like, you got to find a way to limit Trey Hendrickson, and the offensive line, their pass protection must play better.
Agreed.
They have just allowed Russ to get sacked way too often, more than I'd like to see. Yeah. I find it ridiculous, honestly.
Yeah, the last couple of weeks, I mean, it's just Russ is just scrambling too much. He doesn't have much time, and that's got to be cleaned up. And I feel like, I don't want to underestimate the other playmakers they have on that front seven, but Trey Hendrickson is clearly like that X factor. He's that game changer.
Of course.
And he has been for the Bengals for a couple years now. So you got to zone in on him specifically. You got to limit him as much as you can. And then I would think the Steelers are going to try to run the ball in this game because the Bengals rush defense lets up a little bit, and they're going to be without the middleman. They're going to be without the main guy, their green dot, Logan Wilson. He'll be out in this game. And that's significant because Logan Wilson is a great football player. He's a hell of a linebacker. He's a guy that can do everything you ask him to. He is one of those rare homegrown guys on that Bengals defense that they've been able to build around.
Yeah, he's been there a long time. He's just been a very consistent defender. And the fact that he's out for a game like this, it's a big blow for Cincinnati in that defense.
It really is. And it goes to show, like, this Bengals defense, the past couple of years, they've built it around certain, like, homegrown guys, like a Logan Wilson, like some other guys, like a Jermaine Pratt, just Jesse Bates, who they mistakenly let go. And they're really suffering from it because their secondary has never recovered.
And still, they have no idea how to replace him.
And then, in previous years, they brought in Mike Hilton, who's still there. They brought in Chidobe Awuzie. They brought in a lot of these other faces, right? And most of them aren't even there no more. Mike Hilton's still there. Jesse Bates is gone. Logan Wilson's going to be out in this game. I mean, they're without a lot of pieces, and I think a big problem why their defense is suffering is that they have kept the same defensive coordinator for the past how many years
since
now?
2019.
I feel like their defense is starting to get exposed. I feel like their defense is starting to get stale, and I think the Bengals aren't realizing it. I think the coaching or whoever isn't realizing it, and it's really starting to bite them this year because they lost how many playmakers the last number of years, especially in that secondary, and they're trying to fill it with certain guys, young guys, that just aren't either ready, that are just too early into that position, or like in a case of like Dax Hill, he's a safety who was put as an outside corner.
Yeah. And because of that, they said they had DJ Turner sit on the bench who started 12 games last year.
Yeah.
A second-round rookie, and you're sitting him because you want to move a guy from safety to corner. It doesn't make sense at all.
It does not.
But that's the Bengals. That's their doing. That's whatever. Plus, they don't have Jordan Battle starting at safety. They got Von Bell and Geno Stone up there at safety. And Jay, from what I've seen, they have just not been reliable at all this year.
No,
especially Geno Stone coming off 7 picks for Baltimore, and this year he just has he hasn't done much. He hasn't lived up to the ball hawking ability. He hasn't lived up to the playmaking aspect that Cincinnati was probably looking for. Just that safety and the secondary guys, defensive backs in general that they have right now are just not helping them whatsoever. It's hurting them. It's one of the main reasons why they're 4-7 right now.
Right. I mean, that secondary is suspect. That secondary can be picked apart. And we know what Russ can do when Russ is on, when Pickens is connecting, when Pickens is getting the targets from Russ. So I really much like that matchup for the Steelers offense. Is that's exactly what we got to get involved.
I find it as a very favorable matchup. I don't see how this offense can't go into Cincinnati and eat up this defense and have Russ cook, quote unquote.
And I think it's necessary because you got to match that firing power that the Bengals offer with Burrow and Chase. You got to match it. Otherwise, if you allow them to get going and you have no answers, again, it's going to be one of those ugly battles, and we could be looking at 2 straight losses, man. And that's just not good. And if the Ravens face the Eagles, and if there's a team that's going to match up well against the Eagles, it's the Ravens. So if the Ravens win and the Bengals win, the Steelers are out of first place, just like that.
Just like that.
So this is a situation where the offense has to step up. The defense has to limit the firing power as much as they can. They got to be able to give Russ as much time in the pocket by limiting Hendrickson and limiting any other guy that they want to throw at Russ. They got to be able to get a ground game going. Their front 7 is hurt. They're without one of their top linebackers. Attack it. They haven't been able to stop the run for the majority of the season. Same thing with the passing attack. They're really hurting the secondary. They got a rookie in Josh Newton starting. They got Cam Taylor-Britt, who, again, I think is solid. But, a lot of pieces there are just...
They're not fitting right now. They're not clicking.
Exactly.
Nothing's clicking for that defense right now, whether it's the coordinator or the players and how young they are or how inexperienced they are or just how out of position. Whatever the case may be, nothing's clicking well for that Bengals defense, and that's where the Steelers offense and the passing offense has to attack.
Agreed.
That's where they have to get guys involved. That's where they have to utilize their talent in the right circumstances.
And dare I ask, Arthur Smith, get Mike Williams involved?
Please.
No Van Jefferson, or as little Van Jefferson as possible. I think one of the biggest game plans for the Steelers, or one of the bigger ways that they can find success, is, yes, you got to run the ball. Get Najee, get Warren going. That's always going to be the winning formula for the Steelers. They're always run heavy. They're always run first, and typically it allows things to open up for the offense. So keep trying to get that thing going, and I would say pick apart that secondary. Get Pickens involved. Keep giving him targets. Keep giving him the ball. Him and Russ have connected on a deep shot every single week that Russ has came in. So we can still anticipate that to happen in this game.
For sure.
Especially against that secondary. But whoever's lined up against Josh Newton, I would attack the rookie. He's a rookie. He has to step in because they are just so hurt in the secondary. They're without DJ Turner. They're without Dax Hill. They're without another veteran that could step in there. Attack it.
And one of the things about the matchups here between Cam Taylor-Britt and Josh Newton as the outside guys is the size mismatch ability for the Steelers wide receiver.
Barber FN. Barber, what's up, bro? With a 499 says, just checked the transaction for the Browns game and gave over $50 in super chats. Appreciate you guys being here every week. Damn, man. I didn't even realize. I didn't even calculate it myself. So, Barber, That's very much appreciated.
It's very much appreciated. Thank you, Barber.
No, thanks to all you guys, man. Seriously, you guys blow us away every Sunday. Hopefully the Steelers don't make me rip my hair out. That's all I'm gonna say. You guys know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but as I was saying, the size mismatch because their corners they're not small by any means. Don't get me wrong, but they don't really have a lot of size at cornerback right now, starting wise. The Steelers wide receiver right now with Mike Williams, and if they play Mike Williams, and of course George Pickens, they have that size mismatch. I think they have to attack it.
Yeah,
and I think they have to utilize that.
Yeah, both of their starting outside guys are under 6 foot, and both of our starting wide receivers are over 6 foot.
Yeah.
So the size mismatch, absolutely. They are incredible with the 50-50 ball. We know Pickens is a dominant beast. He's a vertical threat. He's a vertical god when he's on, when he's getting targets. You trust him in that situation. Mike Williams, this is the game you got to get him involved. Like, there's no more Van Jefferson. There's as little Van Jefferson. No more moon balls to Van Jefferson. Get Mike Williams involved. This is the game you got to get him involved. If we don't get any targets for Mike Williams in this game, I'm really going to start having some fucking questions for Arthur Smith. Because how in the fuck does this guy have a game-winning touchdown against the Commanders, and he hasn't had a single target the last 2 games?
His only catch was that touchdown.
And he's getting out-snapped by Van Jefferson.
I don't get it. And Van Jefferson has done nothing. I'm sorry. He has done nothing. The opportunities and the reps he's getting, he has done nothing with the opportunities.
I think the matchup is perfect to get Mike Williams involved. First of all, like you mentioned, the size mismatch. And then you got a secondary that you can pick apart. Get him involved.
Yeah.
Get him targets. Let him cook. Let him eat.
Yeah. And Russ's deep threat ability, you can even still utilize Calvin Austin's deep threat ability every now and then.
Agreed.
The guy's getting a lot of snaps, a lot of reps, a lot of opportunities and playing time. He's making the most of it here and there in every game. So it's like you can still utilize the deep threat ability.
It comes down to this might be a game where, honestly, like, again, Burrow and Chase, they're lighting the league up right now. You can't underestimate it. You can't sleep on it. And you do fear it. The Bengals aren't a good team this year. They've definitely downgraded from years prior, and they most likely won't even make the playoffs. But you always fear that passing attack because it is going to be diminishing if you allow anything to get going there. But the Steelers have to answer back in a similar fashion. You kind of have to beat the Bengals at their own game, bro. You have to match that offense. The best way to do it is to pick apart the secondary and utilize the proper weapons to do so. Russ loves to throw the ball deep. Get Pickens the ball in the vertical threat. Get the 50-50 balls going for Mike Williams. Get Calvin Austin going because he's been probably the biggest receiver to step up in that entire room all season.
Yeah.
Opposite Pickens. Like, keep getting those guys involved because good things happen when those guys get the ball. And in this game, this is the perfect matchup to do it. This is the perfect game to do it. Like, you got to step up. You got to have that killer instinct again. You got to have that focus that we need to match their energy if we want to win this football game. If we want to exit Cincinnati with a dub. If we want to get back in the win column.
Yeah.
We got to match that energy. Because if Burrow and Chase or Burrow and Higgins or Burrow and whoever start connecting and this secondary starts allowing this chunk plays, which they very well could again, the offense has to step up. They have to wake up. They gotta play with a sense of urgency or a sense of we gotta attack.
Yeah.
We gotta answer back in a similar fashion.
And they got to answer back with touchdowns just as bad because like they have to be more effective in the red zone. They have no choice but to, especially if the defense lets up and lets Burrow and Chase or anybody else on that offense do what they are looking to do, then they have to answer back in the red zone.
Yeah.
They have no choice but to do so. They have to be more effective because there's no doubt that before they get past the 50, the middle of the field, they are very effective. They can make the plays. They can get the chunk yardage. Russ can pass the ball through the air here and there, connect with his targets. But as soon as they get past the 50 and in the red zone area, they just come to a halt.
Right.
It's just I don't know what's going on there. I don't know why all of a sudden that's the case, but that's a problem that they're going to have to work on fixing for sure.
Agreed. But all in all, I think this entire Steelers team, they got to clean up some errors on both sides of the ball, but I think this is going to be a game that's going to have to be more so won by the offense. Barbara FN with the 199. Barbara with another one says, I wish we got Muse more touches in the middle. I agree.
Yeah, how about we get Frymuth more involved?
I couldn't agree more, Barber. Like, why is Muth only getting 3 targets a game? Minimum. That makes no sense, especially with Logan Wilson out. Logan Wilson, the past couple games against the Steelers, he's come away with plays and coverage.
Yes.
He won't be playing in this game. He won't be. You know who can take advantage? You know who can get involved in that?
Yeah, not just Najee and Warren in a rushing attack, but just as much Pat Frymuth in that. I want to see more of Frymuth utilized in the passing attack. I want to see more Muth in the middle of the field.
Well, let's not forget, last year in Canada's first game gone, Muth had his best game ever.
Ever.
Because he was being used in the middle of the field.
Yeah.
He was shredding that Bengals secondary. He was shredding that Bengals defense.
I believe every target he got, he caught.
I believe you're correct. In fact, he has a decent history against the Bengals. He's always made some clutch catches against the Bengals. Get Muth involved in this game. I couldn't agree more.
And I mentioned about being more effective in the red zone. Every touchdown that Muth has had has been in the red zone. So if you want points, if you want a guy that has a good track record against Cincinnati and is just more than capable, a guy that you can trust in the red zone, you can't look any better than Pat Frymuth.
Patrick Schoen asked, is Alex Highsmith playing or not? No, he's doubtful. I wouldn't bank on Highsmith playing. Highsmith, I don't think will be active. He'll be inactive again, and Nick Herbig will get the start.
And that's another thing with the pass rush. They got to get the Burrow. They got to get the Burrow, and they got to get more pressure on the quarterback here.
The Steelers, they typically have a good history against Burrow, and they have a good history at getting to Burrow.
Yeah. But I'm saying lately the defense has just been playing very soft pressure, if you know what I mean.
I get it.
Like the pressure just hasn't been as dominant or as consistent from this defense. I feel like that they could definitely do more of that, more blitz packages. Now,
I would absolutely entertain the idea of a more blitz packages.
And just moving TJ Watt around.
Moving TJ Watt around, blitzing Landon Roberts, blitzing Peyton Wilson, blitzing Beanie Bishop, Deshaun Elliott. Get those guys down. Get those guys down in the middle of the pocket and let them get pressure on Burrow, because Burrow is innovative. He can make plays under pressure, but you got to be able to limit any ability of him trying to get the ball to his target.
Yeah, if
Give him as little time in the pocket as you can.
Yeah, if you give Burrow time, Burrow's just going to pick you apart. You can't afford that.
Yeah.
You can't afford that. Moving a guy like TJ Watt around would just be very effective for this defense, and it would just make the offensive line have to figure out, well, how do we stop this guy if he's moving around instead of him being in his natural spot, to which, I mean, Watt is more than capable of holding his own in that spot, but if you were to move him around, it would just make it more difficult for offenses to figure that out, as well as the other edge guys that you got in Herbig and Smith.
Agreed. I wouldn't count on that, though, because they don't do that very often.
I know, that's the problem. They don't do that.
Well, the thing is, in this game, maybe they don't have to as much because he's going up against a raw rookie in Mims.
And that's a very favorable matchup any matchup for Watt is favorable, but
yes.
Yeah, Mims is still a raw rookie, and Steelers are probably going to want to attack that.
Dirty details. Dirty details with a 4.99 says smash Burrow. That's what we got to do, man. Smash Burrow. You got to get in Burrow's face, man. We got to get Barber with a 4.99.
We've got 2 words for you.
I thought this for a while. Do you guys think Tomlin has control over what Smith calls? I think Tomlin has some control, yes.
I have no doubt that Tomlin always has a say in everything with any position. So, but the offense got to click.
Well, yeah, the defense definitely needs to step up, but I think this is a game where the offense is going to have to win it.
Yeah.
Like, they can't rely on just the defense to make plays. No. This is going to have to be a game where the offense is going to have to clean some things up, and the offense is going to have to win this game.
No, because, I mean, you shouldn't have to play catch-up in a game like this, right? You should be allowing the Bengals to play catch-up.
I would hope so.
That's where the defense, again, is going to have to come into play, because the defense, they got to prevent Burrow and Chase from doing what they're doing, but they also got to prevent them from scoring, because the Bengals average just about 27 points per game.
Wow.
Yeah.
27 points per game, and they're still 4-7.
They're still 4-7, but that's where the defense can't let up. They can't allow anything like that, because that would lead the Steelers on having to play catch up. And
that's where I say they got to match that energy.
Yeah, and
this is where the offense has to win the game.
And the Steelers, I mean, they're capable of playing catch up this year, unlike previous years. They have showcased that they're resilient. They could bounce back from mistakes and deficits and stay in the game. But in this game, I feel like they can't afford it against Cincinnati. They can't.
I don't think they can either. Now, that might be weird to say because it's against Cincinnati, but I do think, like, you just can't allow them to have a decent little lead because then at that point, how much of an offense are we really going to get when they're down by that much? Now, to give them credit, they have come back from 3 deficits the last 3 games. They just couldn't close the game out versus Cleveland. So to give them credit, they can come back. It's just something tells me about this game is just a little different. Can't explain it. I think it has a lot to do with what Burrow and Chase and what Higgins are capable of and the secondary. It's just you can't get into that big of a deficit. So the offense is going to have to bring the heat, and they're going to have to get a lead. And, yeah, you're right. The defense is going to have to maintain as much. They're going to have to do them a favor, and then the offense is going to have to try to maintain as much of a lead as they can if they get a lead.
Yeah.
How early that's going to be, I wouldn't bank on it being early at all because they always start slow.
Always.
But at the end of the day, this is Steelers versus Bengals. So what are we really going to get?
We're going to get a tough matchup. We're going to get a physical one, that's for sure. It's always a game like that between the Steelers and Bengals. It's AFC North football, but it's a game that both teams need a win. I would say it's must-win for both teams because the Steelers need to remain in first place and need to bounce back from that Browns loss last Thursday. And the Bengals, for sure, they need to win out the rest of the way. And they're going to, I know for a fact, they're going to go in with that mentality like it's now or nothing right now because they can't afford to lose one game or they're screwed. That just decreases their chances of making a final playoff push. And I know Cincinnati's going to try.
Yeah, because the Bengals, I would say they're still playing like the season's on the line. They're still playing like they have a chance, as they should. So I don't want to say that they're playing like they have nothing to lose. It's not like the Browns where they literally had nothing to lose and they were doing everything right last week. The Bengals still have a lot to lose. So they might play a little desperate, which might come down to them making some mistakes, which will be in the Steelers' favor if that's the case, hopefully.
And sometimes, with Zach Taylor, that has kind of bit the Bengals in the ass a couple times. He's been a bit more brave and ballsy in doing those decisions, and sometimes it hasn't worked.
Yeah, I feel like the Bengals as a whole have taken a step back. Like, yeah, you still worry about what they can offer and what they can bring to the table, but I feel like as a whole, the team has taken a step back in a lot of areas, but mostly the defense, which, again, going back to the offense, I think that's where they can really capitalize. And if they don't, then I don't know, man. It's just one of those things where if they don't step up, if they don't match the energy for the Bengals, if they don't clean up some of the necessary mistakes, then Lord knows what that tells for the rest of the season.
Then we're going to have some problems.
Then
that's really going to start, raising some questions about, like what's really happening, what's going on, why are we not clicking, why is the offense not playing up to the caliber that they should or were in earlier weeks?
Not because we know they've shown the capability of getting points on the board, of closing games out, of getting leads back, and I'm going to give them all the credit in the world for that because Lord knows it's been a while since we got any of that on the offense. In this game, though, they just have to really clean up on the fact that they need to get in the red zone. They need to finish in the red zone. They need to get more points on the board. And they got to stop being basic. They got to stop being predictable. And Arthur Smith specifically has to use the personnel properly. He needs to open things up. The offense needs to open some things up and just help Russ out. And Russ has to make the plays necessary. And the players got to execute what Russ gives them.
Of course.
And obviously the O-line, man, is the make or break for this entire offense.
It's going to be key. The O-line's going to be key. They got to play better.
But I will say this. With Russ in at quarterback, I'm always going to have faith that he's going to lead this team. He's going to lead the offense to something substantial because he is a leader. He's a future Hall of Famer. He has won in this league multiple times. He's a winner at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So he's going to lead this offense to something good, in my opinion, at the end of the day. I trust Russ to do it. Any other quarterback, I mean, you just look at Russ and what he succeeded in his career. Like, he just has that mentality. He has that leadership, and everyone follows. Everyone follows the leader, right?
Yeah.
So that's a good thing to entail for this offense. So with Russ, I feel like he understands the predicament. I feel like he understands what the offense needs to do, where they need to clean up. And I think as a leader, he's going to lead the charge. And hopefully we get a decent offense in this game where they can actually win the game and maybe get some points on the board and get in the end zone a couple times.
I hope so, man. I really do. Against Cincinnati, they definitely need to. But I would say that the team overall, they can't get complacent. With where they're at right now with going up against the Bengals, that, yeah, they're 4-7, but they still can't be complacent and underestimate them. And they can't go into Cincinnati and just do the bare minimum. They can't afford to do that.
It's like you guys said in the chat. You know, we're hoping that the Browns' loss was a wake-up call. You know, they were 8-2, now they're 8-3, and you know they were on a 5-game winning streak before that loss. They were looking good, but was it perfect? Was it with error? I mean, obviously, and eventually all that overwhelmed and it caught up to them, and it led to that loss. So I'm hoping they understand that they're not as invincible. They're not as immune to what they think they are.
Right.
So then now they can clean up the necessary mistakes. And hopefully coaching as a whole can open things up and stop being basic. And I'm hoping all that kind of leads to a good charge for the Steelers team versus the Bengals because it's necessary. You can't lose this game, and you have to match their energy. You have to beat them at their own game. You got to bring everything you can to the Bengals offense specifically. And then the offense, man, this is one of their better matchups all year, in my opinion. This is where you got to open things up, and this is where you really got to just eat on offense in both areas. If they don't, I don't see how they don't, because again, they've shown the capabilities of doing so. They have the weapons. They have more than the weapons to do so.
Yeah.
They just got to get the job done. They got to execute.
Yeah.
And Arthur Smith has to really just help out the offense as much as he can, because I think a lot of it leans on him.
He's going to have to target the weak links of that Bengals defense, and they're very obvious. It's that secondary. They don't have Logan Wilson for this game. That's going to be a weak link for them, not having their veteran there. He's going to have to attack that with his targets and scheming up an effective rushing attack. He's going to have to target those weak links. That's what he's got to do.
Agreed. So we'll see what happens at the end of the day, but I am confident the Steelers can walk out with a W, because I think this Steelers team, I think the leadership, the leaders on this team understand how important this is. A loss here would be very detrimental at this stage of the season because, again, any loss is just rough. They currently sit atop of the AFC North. They can't risk losing any game at this point, or especially this early on, because then they will be playing catch-up, and then the schedule only gets tougher after this. So they have to keep getting wins as any way as they can. They got to keep escaping wins with any chance they can get a win, honestly. So they got to beat the Bengals. This is must win. The Steelers cannot lose this game. It's very important for the Steelers. Seeing how the Ravens swept them, and now the Steelers got up next, it's now the Steelers' turn. That's how I feel. I think this is very important. I think the Steelers understand that, and I'm expecting the Steelers to come out with a victory. Anything less than that is obviously just a failure.
Mm-hmm.
I would be very disappointed if the Steelers lose versus the Bengals, because they can't risk it right now. It's very must win, and I'm hoping that the Steelers, they take that loss in the mini bye, and they've used that time to humble themselves, and they walk into Cincinnati for blood, knowing, hey, we still sit atop of the AFC North. We got to remain as dominant as we can. We got to clean up on some of the mistakes. And this offense needs to wake the hell up, and they need to match what the Bengals might throw at us.
Oh, yeah, brother.
Or even stronger than what the Bengals might throw at us. And the defense, get to Burrow, limit Chase. A lot easier said than done, but I think it all begins at getting to Burrow. Watt was a non-factor last week. That's a rare instance. Like, it feels weird for me even saying it.
Yeah.
Watt's going to be hungry in this game. Watt is going to be hungry. He is going to be chasing Burrow as much as he can, man. If there's one guy that Watt loves to sack, if there's one guy that Watt sacks the most, it's Burrow.
For sure.
So he's going to get to Burrow as much as he can. Watt is going to be hungry. Watt's going to be thirsty for a win. Herbig, we trust Herbig to make plays because he's such a great depth piece. Our front seven, our linebacking core, they're making plays the past couple of weeks. We have to trust in them. The secondary just needs to really uphold their end of the stick. They need to uphold their end of the bargain. They need to be a little better in coverage. They need to stop with the blown coverages. JPJ needs to have a better game. Minka needs to have a better game. The entire secondary as a whole needs to step it up because they have a true test, arguably their best test, their toughest test to date. So
I mean, it's the number one passing offense.
it is. This is a tough matchup, guys. You know, I'm going into it fearing a little bit, a little fearful of the Bengals, or their passing attack specifically. But I'm hoping this defense can have a strong bout. I'm hoping this defense can come out of that loss, come off of the mini bye, and have a much stronger, much more dominating performance. Get to Burrow as much as they can. Force a turnover or two. They've done it against Burrow multiple times. The last 4 games Burrow has played against the Steelers, he's thrown a turnover. So I think the Steelers are capable of still committing turnovers. They did it last week even. So that's one of the best things that they can do. That's one of the things they're best at is forcing turnovers. They're one of the top teams at doing so. So in that case, they gotta make Burrow make mistakes. And with Burrow and his line and of course the weather coming into effect, it might be one of those games where the defense, man, they just absolutely take advantage. It might be one of those matchups that they can really have a strong game.
Yeah. You got to attack that football. That defense just got to attack that football. They got to attack whoever's got the football. They got to make sure that they don't go anywhere.
Agreed. So at the end of the day, I want a dub. I want nothing less. We got to get a dub. Very important for a lot of reasons.
No. Steelers can't afford a loss because the Ravens, they're breathing down our necks for that division. So they can't afford it. They can't afford to get complacent. They can't afford to lose this one. They can't.
It just sucks because they were on such a great hot streak, and then they had to go and fuck it up and lose to the Browns.
Yeah, and they just beat Baltimore too for this position. Yeah. And now Baltimore's back in it.
Exactly.
So
but maybe that's what the Steelers needed.
Maybe. If anything, just learn from your mistakes and just fix up on the wrongdoings.
Perhaps that is a blessing in disguise, but we're going to need a strong game for the offense. It starts with the line, and then it starts with Arthur Smith and his personnel usage. And then, obviously, it goes into Russ and the player execution. We're going to need big games from all those parties. The defense, man, secondary's got to be better, and we got to get to Burrow. We got to get pressure, run a little more blitz packages, and try to force a turnover or two. Then, obviously, the offense got to take advantage. We'll see what happens. I'm hoping we get a better Steelers team, and obviously a dub. Because we need it. A dub versus Cincinnati is always a good time. It's always a good Sunday or whatever day the game falls on. So as long as I get a dub, I'll be happy.
Going 9-3, man, it just sounds great. Sounds like a great time.
But we all know Steelers and Bengals, man. This is just it's not like any other game that the Steelers would be facing. This is going to be a tough battle. This is going to be close. This is going to be competitive. It's going to be gritty. There's going to be laundry. There's going to be a lot of trash talk. There's going to be a lot of bad blood on that field. Like these two teams, man, they just bring the heat every single time. And now that Burrow is playing his first game against the Steelers in 2 years, this game is going to be intensified.
Big time. I'm surprised this game was not flexed for a primetime game or an earlier start time.
I agree.
I'm surprised.
I feel like every single year, at least one Steelers-Bengals game should be primetime.
You can say that for a lot of AFC North games, let's be real. Well, AFC North football, I mean.
Well, yeah. I would agree.
Yeah, but, it is what it is.
That's AFC North football in a nutshell, man. So that's the thing. AFC North football, any team can win it at any time, bro. Like, that's just how intense, that's how crazy that the division is. Like, any team can win. The Bengals might upset us.
I hope not.
The Bengals might beat us. That would be awful. But is it a possibility? Absolutely. I don't want to roll it out. I can't roll it out because of the division. And, frankly, I think the Bengals have the offense to beat anyone in this league.
I also look at it, the Browns pulled off the upset. They beat us in their own stadium, and they were 2-8. Now they're 3-8, I believe.
And the Browns are the worst team in the entire division.
Yeah.
I think everyone can agree on that.
Yeah. So no, I don't want to sleep on Cincinnati. I don't want to look at their record. I don't want to look at that defense and underestimate it one bit, because I know that Cincinnati is going to want to try to rain on the Steelers parade and screw them out of first place, if anything, and just try to keep their season alive.
Yeah.
That's what the Bengals are looking for. That's their goal. That's their mission, and we got to find a way to spoil that mission. We got to spoil what they're trying to spoil on us.
I agree.
We gotta get to them.
What team is going to want it more? Better be the Steelers. I'm hoping so. And yes, Chet, I agree. I'm not a fan of Terrell Austin. I'm not. He's just too basic this year. He thinks we can just succeed with rushing 4, and in a way, he's not wrong. But when we're not succeeding and we're not getting pressure, he just thinks, "Hey, let's just keep trying."
When teams figure out a way to stop that, and Austin has no plans to adjust, it's not going to keep working.
Yeah.
We've got 2 words for you.
Dirty Details with a 499 says score predictions. Twins chat. Yeah, what are you guys' score predictions, man? What you guys' score predictions? I'm going to go. Let's go 26-24 Pittsburgh.
I'm going to go 27-23 Pittsburgh.
Alrighty.
I do think that we score more than 20 points because we haven't done it in the past 2 weeks.
Ew.
And we need to.
That's
we
that's
need to,
depressing.
man. Yeah. We really need to.
That's depressing, man.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my God. After coming off how many games where we scored 30 or 26 plus?
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, we got to get back on the scoreboard and in the win column at that.
Levi Wright, 32-30 Steelers. Boswell gets the dub. I would not be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised.
It wouldn't be the first time, and it surely would not be the last either.
Nathan Manco says 24-27 Steelers. TD says 27-24 Steelers as well. Matt Nerdy says 27-26 Steelers.
Hell yeah, man.
How about that, man? How about that? I do think the Steelers win, though. I feel very confident the Steelers can get a dub. I just want to see a better team, and any way that we can get a dub, I'll be very happy.
There's no doubt that this is going to be a close game, regardless.
Yeah.
It could be low scoring, it could be high scoring. This will not be a blowout.
Right.
The Bengals, they only got blown out one time. That was against Philly. That was not too long ago.
I can expect this game to be anything you can describe it as. Any word you want to describe it as, it probably will be that. But anything but bad, really, because I don't think it's going to be a bad game. But what I want to see from this Steelers team specifically is I want to see a different sense of energy. I want to see a hungry Steelers team in this game. You know? Like, I don't want to see them laid back and conservative and trying to do the bare minimum here. I want to see them intensified. I want to be able to feel their energy through my TV screen.
Of course.
As we're doing the live stream. Like, what they're offering on the field and what they're bringing to the table and what they throw at the Bengals on both sides of the ball. I want to feel that intensity. I want to feel that through the television. I want them to go into Cincinnati and try to play their best ball. I want them to go in with the mentality, we got to win this game by any means necessary. Fuck this team. Fuck the Bengals. We don't like them. We're trying to spoil their season or their hopes of coming back. Let's go in there and let's kick their ass.
Let's do it.
Let's beat them, bro. Let's beat the Bengals. Because who day?
We day.
We day.
We day at the end of the day. That's what we need to be. That's the mentality they need to bring into Cincinnati on the road.
That's how I feel, man. I don't like the Bengals. I want to beat them. And in this situation, when you look at everything lined up and just how important this game is and where the division lies and how the rest of the season is going to pan out, I want to beat them even more because this is such an important game already, and we're in week 13. Like, I really want to beat this team for a lot of reasons, but especially because we need to get back on the win streak, and, you know, we just can't risk a loss right now.
You know what I want to see? Do you really want to know what I want to see? I want to see the Bengals get so triggered and irritated that they flip off the Steelers because the Steelers players are stopping them, like Chase did.
Yeah.
Jamaica in Week 1, 2022.
That game was crazy, man. That game was. I don't think. Honestly, I'm trying to think back to so many Steelers-Bengals games, and there's a lot, bro. Especially the 2015 to 2016 years with Burfict and Pac-Man Jones and all that hatred, right?
Yeah.
Fucking Vince Williams is beefing with Vontaze before the game on some James Harrison shit. That was like.
Remember Jeremy Hill?
Yes.
What he did?
That was
He never recovered.
That was some intense shit
Yep.
of the rivalry. And now it's like when I look back at that game in 2022, week 1, that was just 5 turnovers, and the game went into overtime because Minka got a block. It's just all the kickers couldn't make a field goal in overtime.
No.
So Boz hit it. Like, that was just some wild stuff. It's one of the more wild Steelers-Bengals games I've seen in recent memory.
Of course.
And I feel like we're going to get something similar to this week. Because I feel like both teams are so hungry right now. They have such determination to get a victory. Like, we're going to get a very good game this Sunday.
It's going to be a barn burner, man. It's going to be a fight. It's going to be a brawl, man.
It's going to be a fight to the death and the fight to see who really wants the victory more, man. So, it's going to be an intense battle. You guys already know.
Another fight against yet another AFC North rival in Cincinnati. Steelers need to go on the road once again, but they need to get a victory.
Yes, they do.
They need to bounce back from that Cleveland loss, and they need to get back on the win column.
Agreed. Couldn't agree more. They got to get a win. It's very important, man. So, we'll see what happens. But, yeah, I still feel very confident the Steelers can get a dub, though. I feel very confident. So, we'll see what happens, man. It's going to be a very interesting game come Sunday. You guys know we'll be live for it. The stream is already up and prep, so if you guys want to give it a like in advance, feel free to do so. Let's take a look at the poll, man. Which Bengals player worries you the most? 48% says Jamar Chase.
Well, I'm actually surprised to see is 3% is Trey Hendrickson the lowest.
Yeah.
Wow. Granted, that's the only defender on there, but
Well, Trey Hendrickson is a difference maker, man.
he's a beast. I'll give him
But
that.
Jamar Chase, you can't turn a blind eye to him right now.
No, not at all.
Jamar Chase is aiming for a contract. He is going to be the highest paid wide receiver when he gets paid.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that's from the Bengals or whoever. Probably the Bengals. But
Bengals will not let him go.
well, they can't lose both receivers. They're going to lose Higgins to the Steelers. But
Yeah, keep your fingers crossed on that one,
I am.
brother. But
I am.
no, Chase is. I can't see him in another uniform. I can't. I honestly, I think that'd be weird. You know what I'm saying?
I hope so.
Listen, I'd hope so, but I don't see it.
We've got 2 words for you.
Dirty Details with a 199 says double Chase or blitz Burrow. Blitz Burrow.
Gotta talk the line, bro.
Because here's the thing. If you double Chase, which is good, that still leaves people to be other targets to be open. Higgins, their other receiver, what's his name?
Are you thinking of Josevic?
Josevic, yes. Josevic. He has 4 touchdowns on the year.
Yeah, he does.
Mike Gesicki gets targets. Drew Sample even gets targets. I mean, there's other guys that can make plays. They spread the ball around. But if you blitz Burrow, that allows Burrow to literally do little to nothing.
Yep.
You get him dirty. You get him on the turf. You get him all muddy. You get him all cold and freezing and honestly, man, you allow him to do basically nothing. I would blitz Burrow.
You don't want to sleep on the targets regardless. I mean, you obviously want to keep a keen eye on Chase and Higgins, but you don't want to sleep on the other targets because Burrow is good at spreading the ball this year. But in order to prevent that, yeah, you got to get to him. You got to make him nervous. You got to make him feel uncomfortable. You got to get him down on the turf.
Right.
That line has never been good. It's not as bad as previous years, but you still got to attack it. You still got to get through.
Will says we need to play more man-to-man coverages along with blitz and stunts. Agreed. You got to allow JPJ to play physical. You got to play.
Yeah, can we not have JPJ do zone on Jamar Chase? Can we please not do that?
That's a disaster waiting to happen.
Because you know Chase and Burrow, they will see that from a mile away and they will attack it ASAP. Please don't do that.
That would be a disaster.
If I see that, I will point that out and I will rage at the TV.
Dude,
and
I can
will
already
already
picture-
know what will happen before the play even happens.
I can already picture what's going to. If you have JPJ in zone coverage, all they got to do is run a short comeback, a short hitch, give him the ball, the easy. He's 10 yards off the receiver. Let's run a short route and get the easy yardage.
They can't afford to do that. I don't want to see any zone when it comes to JPJ on Chase. I don't.
Never should. You never should. Unless, depending on the yard predicament, sure. But, yeah, I mean, in this game, no. He shouldn't be playing no fucking zone coverage. And yes, agreed. We need to start blitzing more, man. Terrell Austin has been just, again, basic in that predicament. Like, he needs to start running some more of those blitz packages, especially in this game, man. I think we really got to get to Burrow. We got to be able to, excuse me, extinguish Burrow as much as we can and prevent him from having any time to do any damage in that secondary.
Oh, yeah.
It's as simple as that. I just want to see classic Steelers football. I mean, we'll probably get we'll get classic Steelers football if you know what I'm talking about. It's gonna be stressful. It's gonna be stressful, man. I smell a future sign. What are you talking about, Matt?
Why'd you put the hazmat? Why'd you put the hazmat logo with that comment?
I don't know.
I'm actually trying to figure that out right now.
Fire. He's talking about fire defensive coordinator.
Oh, okay.
I'm not there yet. I'm not there. I don't like Terrell Austin.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't they extend him for 3 more years too?
When?
I thought it was this offseason.
Don't say that.
I thought it was, yeah. I remember we talked about that during the offseason because it was news. I think they extend him for 3 more years.
I think you're right.
So, I mean, they're not going to fire another coach.
In January 2024, the Pittsburgh Steelers finalized a 2-year contract with defensive coordinator Terrell Austin, keeping him with the team to the 2025 season. So we got this year and next year.
Okay.
We're stuck with Terrell Austin.
Yay.
He better step it up, man.
Better do something. Better do something,
All
man.
the coaches, both of the coordinators need to step it up. I don't know. They just
Basic.
Yeah, but I don't want to sound like a broken record. They just, I guess for lack of better words, they're just basic. There's nothing extra. There's nothing exciting. Let's just throw them out there and do what they got to do. Nothing crazy to it. It's just hoping they clean some things up, man. Nathan says, I remember when we played the Bengals in 2017 when Shazier went down. It scared me when he was still down. Ambulance came out.
Yeah, that was a wild moment, man.
Yeah, it's one of the more unfortunate situations between the Steelers and Bengals history. That I remember that game. It was yesterday, dude. It was same game. Juju knocked down Burfict and stood over him.
That game was wild. I mean, I remember that game. That was so physical. It was Monday night, and
that game was intense.
I mean, injuries left and right. It was just physical. It was hard hitting. It always is with Steelers and Bengals, but that one specifically, because I up until that point, the most physical was of course that wild card game, where the Steelers won.
Yeah, and then AB got CTE.
Yeah, that's another moment in Steelers Bengals history.
That's what I was talking about.
Yep. Oh wow.
Yeah. Yeah, that's on December 4th, 2017 to be exact. Yeah. I remember in the post game. In the post game we did. I remember crying, bro. Like I actually cried for Shazier, dude. I was scared for his career, for his life, and it just sucked to see such an incredible Hall of Fame worthy player go down. And yes, I do say Hall of Fame worthy because if he was still playing to this day, him and Watt.
It's unfortunate we didn't get any more.
I'm gonna start crying now because we never really got that. We were there. We had it.
Shazier was Shazier was a different beast.
Shazier was a dog.
He was a different beast, dude.
When he was healthy, he was one of the best linebackers in the entire league.
I remember that streak he had of like interceptions, including the postseason.
You know what?
You have a Shazier jersey, right?
I do.
I might have to wear it. I might have to pull it out.
I might
have to.
We'll see.
Shout out to Ryan Shazier, bro.
Shout out to Ryan Shazier, man. A hell of a football player. Damn.
Hell of a human being.
One of
the
biggest what-ifs in Steelers history. In NFL history. It really changed everything in that 2017 season. And we finally now found a replacement. It took us 6 fucking years. We found a replacement.
Yeah, a lot of trial and error going through that. Yeah, thanks, Kevin Colbert. Thank you very much.
We got Queen, who stepped up the last number of weeks. Peyton Wilson's a dog. He reminds me a lot of Shazier, actually.
Yeah.
Peyton Wilson reminds me a lot of Shazier.
That's the Omar Khan effect.
Yeah. I'm not saying Peyton Wilson is Ryan Shazier. He just reminds me a lot of him, dude. He's just the total package. Never seen a linebacker so electric, so fast, with so much range.
And the size as well.
And so good in coverage.
You ask him to do whatever, I mean, like Peyton Wilson's going to do it. He's going to do it.
Chad, I want to ask you a question, man. If we get an interception, if the Steelers get an interception in this game, who do you think gets the interception?
Ooh. Well, Jackson has 4 on the year.
Correct.
Bishop has 3. Minka don't have 1. Minka has a great reputation against Cincinnati and Joe Burrow.
Yes, he does.
So, I mean, I feel like we've been saying it for weeks that Minka is way overdue for a play. Minka has not been that splash player for quite a long time. That could be for whatever reason. That could just be Minka just not playing to that caliber. That could be because teams are looking away from that because he's playing more deep safety now, which he should be. Maybe it's the level of impact from Minka. I don't know. Maybe it's a mix of both. I have no idea. But it's been a while since Minka has really had that splash play.
What we call Minka ball.
Of course. Elliott's been a factor. I think he's got, 1 or 2 picks on the season?
Yeah, 1 from week 1.
JPJ only has 1 since week 1. He's not really a ball hawk guy, though, never was. I don't know.
The chat saying Fitzpatrick, Beanie, Queen, Beanie Bishop, Hope, Minka, but probably Jackson. Cam with the surprise interception. I like that.
Sutton, yeah, he's back.
Or Cam Hayward.
TJ Watt, maybe.
How about Keanu Benton?
Imagine that.
Just saying, man. Maybe
Imagine
Cam
that.
bats it in the air and Benton just like clocks it
I don't
down.
know. I can see another one of them like crazy Watt plays where he jumps and goes to bat it, but it just falls right into his hands and he hauls it in. He's done it before.
We'll see. But if there's a player who I think comes down with an interception, I'm gonna say Beanie Bishop.
I'm going to say Jackson.
Okay,
I'm going to say Dante Jackson. He's been the ball hawk this year.
that's my prediction. It's my prediction. In fact, excuse me, a stat prediction for George Pickens specifically. What are you guys' stat predictions for George Pickens? Keep in mind, George Pickens the last couple of games with Russ has been on fire. In fact, isn't he top 5 in receiving yards?
I don't know if top 5 right now. He was just a couple weeks ago. I think just last week, actually.
Yeah, just last week he was top 5.
He's got 776 receiving yards on the year already.
He's not top 5 anymore after St. Brown's now in top 5.
Yeah.
But he's number 7 right underneath Zay Flowers.
I'll tell you what, that matchup against the secondary is so favorable. I don't see how he doesn't get 100.
Well, remember what he did last year with Mason?
Yeah, I do. He had that. He
Dude,
had
if Arthur
that. He had
Smith-
that Randy Moss Thanksgiving game.
If Arthur Smith doesn't see what the fuck Frymuth and Pickens did last year versus the Bengals and try to utilize that to torture those guys, I don't know what the fuck he's doing. Swear jar. Literally, George Pickens and Pat Frymuth had legacy games versus the Bengals in each of those matchups. You better get those two involved
Yeah,
in
and
this one.
if Smith doesn't do any of that, then I will be pleading him to go to North Carolina.
You better, for the love of my life, you better, for the love of Steelers Nation's sanity, you better get those two involved in this game, dude. You and your stupid little mustache better get Pickens the ball, Muth the ball, Williams the ball. I beg of you. But yeah, what's your guys' stat prediction for George Pickens? I think he gets another 90 and a score. He only has 2 touchdowns on the year, dude. That's low. That's low.
I know. I feel like for Pickens' career, he should have more touchdowns.
Damn.
He should have more touchdowns.
100 yards in a tutty, 7 for 93 in a tutty, 7 receptions, 130, 2 tutties. I like the 2 tutties, yeah. 8, 123, 2 tutties. I mean, I'm hoping, bro. if it's anything like last year, it's gonna be a victory for the Steelers, man. When Pickens gets in the end zone, when Pickens gets a score, good things really do happen.
He should have more, though. Let's be real.
I agree.
He should have more.
5th overtime? 5th overtime, you said? Holy shit. That's insane.
Them college games, man, like they never end until they finally have a winner.
Dude, Georgia Tech and Georgia 5th overtime? Oh my God.
Nobody's letting up.
See, okay, listen, I know it's never going to happen. I wish that's something the NFL would endure.
Yeah, the score's 40-40 right now. Holy crap. Well, you see, that's the problem. The NFL is never going to do that.
No, because they have agreements with networks and obviously player safety. But I just think no one wants a tie. No one watches an NFL game for a tie.
No.
Like, keep playing until one team can't score. It's that simple. That's how it should be.
Tell you right now,
College got it right.
I'm looking at stats right now. Carson Beck has 5 touchdowns.
Not a pick.
Not yet. Don't jinx the guy. No. 5. Dominic Lovett with 2.
42-40 Georgia Tech. Or Georgia, not Georgia Tech. Excuse me.
Well, yeah, Georgia Tech quarterback Haynes King has 2 passing touchdowns to go along with 3 rushing.
Good Lord.
With 303 passing yards and 110 rushing.
Well, there you go.
Well, there you go. He's carrying that team.
Yes, sir.
He also lost a fumble, but that's neither here or there.
Wow. Give Wilson the time. He could have a field day passing on that defense. I agree, man. We saw it. We've seen it with Russ, especially against the Jets. Versus the Giants, he had a good game. So I agree. It's a phenomenal matchup for the Steelers. It's a phenomenal matchup for Russ, which leads me into a great ad break. Shout out to BetUS Sportsbook and Casino for sponsoring with us this season on this live stream as we take a look at the betting odds for the Steelers, man. You take a look at the the over-unders for Russ, for Najee, and for Pickens, man. First of all, Najee's over-under is only 59. Kind of low when you consider the Bengals can't really stop the run.
Yeah.
Russ, against that secondary, again, this could be one of the more offensive-heavy games for the offense. I would hope so. Russ's over-under is 224. He's covered that in the majority of his games at quarterback so far.
Yes, sir.
And Pickens, his over-under is 74. Against that secondary, I don't know, man. Listen, if there's one or if there's 2 I'm taking, it's Pickens and Najee.
Honestly, all 3 could eat.
They
I
all
don't see
could.
how all 3 don't eat. That's just me, but you never know come Sunday.
You never know, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to look over here, man. We're going to look at the over-unders. Passing yards. You know what? All right, let me take Russ. Let's go down to rushing yards. Let's go to Najee. Let's take that over 59. And let's go to passing. Oh, I'm sorry, receiving. Receiving yards. First of all, I want to take a look at some of these other guys. Calvin Austin, his over-under is 24. Okay. Darnell Washington's over 14.5. He gets targets, so maybe that's one of those. Maybe that's one of those ones that you kind of sneak in. Chase is 76.5. That's it for Chase.
Say that again?
76.5. That's low.
Oh, come on.
I don't know about you guys. You know what? Listen, I'm going to take that. I'm going to add it to the slip as well.
I don't blame you.
I'm going to add it to the slip as well. That's low. For Chase, that's low as hell.
I mean, he's the league leader, and he's the #1 fantasy guy. So, yeah.
Okay, so we're going to take all that. Now, it's plus 900 odds, which is a little insane, but let's put 5 on it. What's $5? Let's place, let's confirm. If you guys want to tell any of that, feel free to do so at betus.com. They got all of the over-unders for all the games for Week 13, plus anytime touchdowns, which is always stressful and sometimes very winning. So, yeah, shout out to BetUS Sportsbook and Casino, man. They got a great 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit up to $2,000 and 125% on your next 2 deposits when you use the promo code YouTube150 when signing up at betus.com today. Take advantage of those great perks from our great friends over at BetUS Sportsbook and Casino. Take advantage of the fastest payouts in the industry, fast and easy deposit and withdrawal process, live wagering on all major games, and personalized service 24/7 every day of the year. So shout out to BetUS Sportsbook and Casino for sponsoring with us this live stream. Just please gamble responsibly.
We have a 6 overtime.
6th?
It's 42-42. I'm actually keeping an eye on this game.
It would be great if we keep Burrow under 200. That would be a phenomenal defensive game. If we keep Burrow under 200, that would be huge.
That would be a major positive.
Have the Steelers ever done that?
I'm not sure if they did, but if they do come Sunday, you'll not hear anything from me.
They've actually done it twice.
Okay, so they have done it before.
But the last 2 games Burrow has played against the Steelers, which is all in 2022, he has passed for over 300 yards each. The only times he's done that against the team, by the way.
Yeah.
So, you don't know what you're going to get. But honestly, man, at the end of the day, when I look at this game, I truly don't know what type of Steelers-Bengals game we're going to get. It could be high scoring. It could be defensive. It could be very similar to week 1 in 2022, man, where it's turnover heavy and then both offenses can't really capitalize and then it just comes down to an intense ending. But we'll see what happens. But my gut feeling is telling me this might be more of an offensive matchup than we expect, than what many people expect. I think this is good. I think this could be a game where the offenses go back and forth, which is why I keep saying the offense needs to match the Bengals. And this is a game where the offense is going to have to win them the game. The defense definitely has to make the plays necessary, but the offense is going to have to win them the game at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It's up to the offense, man.
Offense got to get going, man.
7th overtime? What is going on?
I don't know, dude.
What is going on?
It's Georgia football. 7th overtime, yeah.
That is insane. Wow. Unbelievable.
Huh.
Unbelievable, man. Crazy stuff. Crazy stuff around the entire football world, dude. College football, NFL. You got to love it, man. How can you not be a fan of football?
Yeah, the college football playoffs, they're inching closer and closer, too.
They sure are.
Yeah.
That's going to be a great watch, man. That's gonna be awesome. Is Orlando Brown doubtful or out?
He's questionable.
Questionable. He'll most likely play.
I think it's a fibula injury, but we'll see how that holds up throughout the weekend.
I'm very interested to see how Nick Herbig is going to do against Brown, though. I think that's a good test for Herbig, and I think we trust Herbig to make plays, man. That's gonna be a good watch too. So
yeah, I mean, you're looking at Herbig and Brown. Yeah, it's a size mismatch because Brown's 6'8" and Herbig 6'2", but Herbig knows how to use his size.
Agreed. Les says what makes this matchup intriguing is no outcome would surprise me. A blowout either way or a close game. What would surprise me is if the game isn't ugly.
Yeah, really.
It's going to be ugly. Ugly, and by that, I don't think it's going to be a bad game. It's just going to be one of those back and forth sort of deals. But, yeah, it's Steelers Bengals, man. Isn't it always ugly? Isn't it always in that fashion? I think Les put it perfectly, actually. That's just how the rivalry is, and I can't wait for Sunday, man. You guys know we'll be live for it, and the intensity, the energy, the vibe is going to be at an all-time high. And come game day, dude. Once it hits game day, my mood's going to be beat the Bengals.
Yep.
Beat the Bengals, come out with a win, fuck this team, let's get a win. That's how I am now. Imagine when the game's actually live.
Yeah, for real. And that's going to be in enemy territory. They're going into a hostile environment in Cincinnati, a team that cannot afford to lose another game this season. And the Steelers, they cannot afford to lose 2 straight here. They can't. They just can't.
I'm going into this game feeling the same way I felt about the Ravens. Beat this team. I don't like them. I don't want them to get the win. I don't want them to get that over us. I want to stay atop of the AFC North. Beat this team.
Yep.
Get the win.
And this will be the start of, are the Steelers legitimate contenders? Are these the real Steelers here?
Yeah, because, we made a video about it yesterday, actually. This is the real true test for the Steelers, man. This is when the schedule peaks. What Steelers team are we going to get? How real, how legit is this team? How bad do they want it? This is the start of the legitimate, real test of who the Steelers really are. This is the start of the reality of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Start Sunday versus the Bengals, man. Get the win, walk out with a dub, stay atop of the division, and just get a win. That's all that matters at the end of the day. So, Steelers Bengals, gotta love it. With that being said, I think that will do it for the live stream. We're gonna close this out. We're gonna close out this preview. Thank you guys for tuning in. As always, we appreciate you guys for everything. And you guys know we'll be live Sunday. We'll see you guys Sunday. It's gonna be an absolute intense stream. It's gonna be a wild stream, it's just going to be one of those situations where it's going to be a lot of, like,
Emotions.
It's going to be heated.
It's going to be a lot of emotions just going through all of us right here as we're going to watch it. But it's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be must-see, man. You can't miss it.
Yeah, I can already imagine myself being very vocal, very animated.
You have been all season.
It's that type
More
of season.
so than me, but, you know, like...
It's been that type of season, man.
Yeah.
It's been that type of season, and I don't see it slowing down anytime soon. So
No. I think it's only going to pick up.
that's
bro.
Pittsburgh Steelers football, man. At the end of the day, here we go, Steelers. Appreciate you guys for watching. See you guys Sunday. With that being said, hope you guys had a phenomenal Thanksgiving. And now, 'tis the season, ladies and gentlemen. Happy Black Friday. Whatever you guys are doing for the weekend, enjoy it. Have fun. Be safe. And let's make it to Sunday, and let's try to get out of Sunday as healthy and as less of a heart attack as possible. So with that being said, we're going to close out the stream. You guys have a great rest of your night. Have a great weekend. See you guys Sunday. Here we go, Steelers. Beat the Bengals.
And as always, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you later.
Peace. Eighth overtime? Hold on.
I think we're going
Hold
into
on.
an 8th overtime.
Eighth overtime.
I'm keeping my eye on this one.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, this game's never going to end.
This game's never going to end. Eighth overtime.
Yep.
That's unbelievable. Anyway, yeah. We're getting out of here. So thank you guys for watching. Shout out to BetUS Sportsbook and Concern for sponsoring with us this live stream. Check them out, betus.com. Take advantage of that 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit up to $2,000 and 125% on your next 2 deposits when you use the promo code YouTube150 when signing up at betus.com today. Otherwise, we're getting out of here. And we're going to go watch this game, and maybe it will end, maybe it won't. We'll see what happens. See you guys in the next one. Here we go.
Screw the Bengals.